well, we can argue about some of that, but it's a very strong phrase.
Well, but again, and this is why. But
I mean, it supports the view that a case has been made that is irrefutable.
Well, okay, but if and would it have been that weakened had those two words not been there? Probably not, because in a sense, what the document did was it set out a pretty broad-ranging case, and it had the history. And if you go to the I repeat the point I made earlier that was noted in the Butler report about the media commentary at the time. It was that this was pretty conservative. It was very cautious. There was nothing terribly explosive about it. The reporter who provoked the controversy later actually said there's nothing new in this. We've known all this for years. So and I don't know what more you can, what more I can say about that other than because I can't remember every part of every discussion about it, but I think that what we were doing, as I say, was making a case as to why the government, why the Prime Minister had grown much more concerned about this as a serious, credible and current threat.
Do you think it was sensible to incorporate the forward into the document in the way that it did? Because it did suggest that the JIC was endorsing the forward. Indeed, the process you've it's moving because it's moving JIC into
but look,
policy.
the Prime Minister was going to be going along to Parliament and standing up and making a statement, which is basically the contents of the forward, and he was going to be saying it's all based upon this. There's not that much difference between that. It was going to be put into the political and public arena on a global basis. Now that. You can argue as to whether that judgment should never have been taken, but I go back to the point I made earlier about the changing nature of the media landscape and the political landscape, and the fact that people no longer are just prepared to say if the Prime Minister says it's intelligence, yeah, okay, Prime Minister, we'll buy that, that's fine.
Laurie, could I intervene? I just want to establish one point, if I may. This regarding Sir John Scarlett's and indeed others' ability to raise points on the text of the foreword.
Yeah.
Sir John told us that he saw the foreword as something quite separate from the text of the dossier, and that's not disputed. But he also told us that it was, in his judgment, an overtly political statement, yes, signed by the Prime Minister, and not something, therefore, he could change. And Desmond Bowen, in his evidence, or rather, in a minute, indeed, said much the same thing. Now, they had the opportunity to intervene. Really, they could, but they didn't because they felt they couldn't.
I don't. Look,
I don't agree with that.
I'm not disagreeing with how. Look, I'm not going to say anything remotely critical about John Scarlett, for whom I have huge regard. But I don't believe that had any of the GIC thought that the forward in any sense overstated the case to a degree that would make the work that they had done hit its credibility, that they would either they didn't feel that they had the opportunity to say something, or indeed that they wouldn't have done. And I think, as I said to you earlier, albeit that they were quite minor changes, the GIC did make changes. So it's not as if they sort of say that text there is sacrosanct, we can't touch it.
Sorry, can I just follow up the point? One more go. There are two references to doubt in the foreword. I mean, one is the Prime Minister saying, I'm in no doubt that the threat is current and serious. Fine. But it also says, what I believe the assessed intelligence has established beyond doubt. Not fine.
Not fine?
No, because assessed intelligence never establishes anything beyond doubt. Question.
Well, and all I can say to you, this is the Prime Minister presenting this document to Parliament and him saying what he believes it tells him. Okay. And also that, I had been in meetings with John Scarlett and other intelligence officials, and is that what they were saying? Yes, it is.
Just to, finally on the forward, Jonathan Powell emailed you saying the document does nothing to demonstrate a threat, let alone an imminent threat from Saddam. and then you replied saying, that is why TB's forward sets out the case I'm making. So in a sense, the importance of the forward was it turns an intelligence assessment into a threat assessment.
No, I don't. No, I think actually Jonathan was making. Look, we were never saying that this was us setting out that Saddam Hussein was about to, do something terrible to the British mainland, and that wasn't what we were saying. So I don't think the.
Well, it can be a threat assessment without having.
Yeah, but I think the forward was really never anything other than the Prime Minister, yes, putting his stamp on this document and also on the debate that was going to flow from it, and it was I suppose the basis for some of the arguments that he then set out in Parliament. But I don't accept that it changed the as it were, took part of an argument from here and then made it something different in the forward.
Well, it made it something different in the sense that it drew the policy implications for it.
He's the Prime Minister. That's in part what he's there for.
In the first draft of the dossier, it stated, the case I make is not that Saddam could launch a nuclear attack on London or another part of the UK. He could not, which reinforces the point you've just made. But then that sentence was removed for the final draft.
Again, no idea why specifically, but he made a very, very similar point in Parliament.
Yeah.
So I look, you'll be aware of this, that things get drafted and redrafted and written and rewritten, but there was no sort of significant strategic or policy reason as to why that sentence shouldn't be there.